Hey, coin collectors and treasure hunters. Today we're diving into the world of 1980 USA 1-cent coins, also known as pennies, and finding out whether these little copper treasures are worth more than just 1 cent. It's amazing how something so common in our everyday life can have hidden value. But before you toss those pennies into a jar, let's take a closer look at what makes some of these 1980 pennies potentially valuable. First, let's give you a bit of background on the 1980 penny, the US. Mint produced millions of these coins in 1980 at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln cent has remained almost unchanged since 1909, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side and, at the time, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side. Now, back in 1980. Pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Copper prices were on the rise, and these pennies have a higher intrinsic value than modern pennies, which are mostly zinc. It's also why they're popular among collectors who enjoy the idea of copper stacking, keeping pennies with high copper content as a hedge against rising metal prices. The first factor is the coin's condition, known as its grade. Coins are graded from poor condition, where they're very worn, to mint state, which is the best possible condition. Next is the mint mark. In 1980, the Philadelphia Mint did not put any mark on their pennies, while the Denver Mint coins have a small D under the date. Although mint marks alone don't add much value, they can help identify rare variations or errors. Speaking of errors, these can add value to a penny. Error coins are highly collectible, as mistakes during production can make a coin unique. Some common types of errors include off-center strikes, double die errors, and repunched mint marks. If you have a 1980 penny with any of these errors, it's time to get excited. So, let's break down the potential value of a 1980 penny. Starting with regular circulated coins all the way up to mint state. Most 1980 pennies in circulated condition are only worth face value about 1 cent. If they're just average coins with some wear and tear, they're not worth more to collectors. However, because of their copper content, some people collect them in bulk as copper bullion. If you find an uncirculated 1980 penny with little to no wear, its value jumps up to about 15 to 30 cents. For a coin graded at MS65, the value can be around $1 to $2 depending on demand. Higher grade mint state coins MS66 and above are very rare and can be valued at around $10 to $20 or even more for exceptional examples. These coins must have a sharp strike and very few, if any, blemishes or imperfections. Finally, we have error coins, which can fetch a variety of prices. A common double die error, for example, could make a 1980 penny worth $20 or more, while an off-center strike or other error might bring in $50 or even $100 to the right collector. Look closely with a magnifying glass or a coin microscope to check for any errors. Be sure to examine the date, mint mark, and any small details that could indicate an error or variation. Grading can be a bit tricky, especially if you're new to coin collecting. You may want to compare your coin to online images for approximate grading. There are also professional coin graders like PCGS and NGC who can provide an official grade if you think your coin is valuable enough. Online communities like CoinTalk or Reddit's Our Coins can offer helpful insights if you're unsure about a coin. Many experts there are happy to share their knowledge with beginners. You can compare prices here and even try selling your coin directly to collectors. Local coin shops are great because they allow you to get a professional opinion right there. Coin shows, which often feature multiple dealers, are another excellent venue to sell rare finds. If you have a high-grade or rare error penny, an auction house specializing in rare coins might be worth considering. Auctions attract serious collectors and can yield higher prices. Alright, coin collectors, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of the 1980 penny. While most 1980 pennies are worth just face value, you now know what to look for if you want to find that special coin with added value. Remember, the world of coin collecting is as much about the thrill of the hunt as it is about the money. So go ahead and check those old jars and coin collections. Who knows what treasures you might uncover. 1988 Lincoln 1-cent coin, or penny. Is there hidden value in this everyday coin? Stay tuned to find out. The 1-cent coin, often just called the penny, has been a staple of American currency since 1793. The Lincoln cent, however, specifically debuted in 1909 and has been in circulation ever since, with some subtle design changes along the way. Today, we're focusing on the 1988 version, an interesting coin that many people overlook. First, let's talk design. The obverse side of the 1988 penny features a profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner back in 1909. Brenner's initials, VDB, are also on the coin. They're found on the obverse side under Lincoln's shoulder, a fun detail for anyone interested in design quirks. On the reverse side, we see the Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparo. If you look closely, you can even make out Lincoln's statue inside the memorial. As for composition, by 1988, pennies were primarily made from a core of 97.5% zinc and just 2.5% copper coating. This was a change from pre-1982 pennies, which were mostly copper. So while they may look similar, modern pennies are a lot less valuable in metal content alone. So, what's the actual value of a 1988 penny in circulated condition? For the most part, these coins are still worth, well, 1 cent. They're incredibly common. And since billions were minted that year, they aren't exactly rare. But hold on. There are a few factors that could make some 1988 pennies worth a bit more, even in circulated condition. Let's go over what you should look for when determining if a 1988 penny might be worth more than face value. There are a few things to consider: mint marks, errors, and overall condition. Now, errors and varieties are where things get interesting. Coin collectors call these die errors small mistakes that happen when coins are minted. Some 1988 pennies may have a wide AM or close AM variety on the reverse side. Also check for things like double dies, where certain letters or images are doubled due to minting issues. One of the most sought-after errors for the 1988 penny is the doubled die obverse, which results in doubled images on the date or lettering. While rare, these coins can bring in a higher price from collectors, especially if the doubling is clearly visible. And don't forget to look for off-center strikes. If the design is noticeably misaligned, this error could increase the penny's value, sometimes to several dollars, depending on how off-center the strike is. The last thing to consider is the coin's condition. Coins are graded from poor all the way up to mint state. If you're looking to sell your 1988 penny, coins in mint state, meaning they appear nearly brand new and haven't seen much circulation, can command a bit of a premium. A regular 1988 penny in this condition might bring in 50 cents to $1. Certified coins, pennies graded and encapsulated by a professional service, tend to attract more interest from serious collectors. But remember, the certification costs might outweigh the coin's value unless it's in exceptional condition. Did you know? Even though pennies are everywhere, about half of all pennies minted don't make it back into circulation. They're just sitting in piggy banks, jars, and coin collections. Many people hold on to pennies thinking they might be valuable someday, but only a small percentage of them. 1991 Lincoln penny. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a penny, but there's actually more to this 1 cent piece than meets the eye, especially if you're into coin collecting or just interested in hidden values. So, let's start with a bit of history. The 1991 Lincoln penny is part of the iconic Lincoln cent series, which has been around since 1909. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, Abraham Lincoln, and over the years, it's had a few changes in composition and design. By 1991, the penny was made mostly of zinc, with just a thin copper coating on the outside. This shift happened back in 1982 when copper prices made solid copper pennies too costly to produce. So the 1991 penny is technically a zinc coin with a copper coating. The design of the 1991 penny features Lincoln's profile on the front, or obverse side, and on the back, or reverse side, we've got the Lincoln Memorial, which was introduced in 1959. You'll also see the mottos "In God We Trust" and "E Pluribus Unum," two key American mottos. Now, let's talk value specifically, what these coins are worth in circulated condition. The 1991 penny is very common in the U.S. Mint produced billions of them that year. In circulated condition, the average 1991 penny is worth, well, just a penny. You'll find these in pocket change, and unless they're in really good condition, they don't hold much numismatic value. But if you're a collector, you know that condition matters. Pennies in uncirculated or mint state condition can sometimes fetch a bit more. A high-grade, uncirculated 1991 penny could be worth between 10 and 25 cents. Still, it's mostly a fun way to fill out a coin collection rather than striking it rich. There are a few varieties and errors in the 1991 penny series that might be worth keeping an eye out for. These include things like double die errors or coins with off-center strikes. Finding one of these error coins can make a 1991 penny significantly more valuable. Double dash die errors, for example, are where certain letters or numbers look doubled. If you spot a 1991 penny with doubling on the date or the word liberty, it might be worth a closer look. Some of these error pennies can go for $10, $20, or even more, depending on the condition and rarity of the error. If you're looking for high-quality 1991 pennies, here are a few tips. First, look for coins with clear details, especially in Lincoln's face and the Lincoln Memorial. Avoid pennies with scratches, dings, or visible wear, especially on the high points of the coin. Another thing to look for is luster. A mint state penny will have a bright, shiny surface, which is a good indicator of its quality. And if you find one that looks pristine, you might even consider getting it professionally graded, especially if it has a known error. To sum it up, the 1991 penny is an interesting piece of American history that most of us carry around every day. While its circulated value is just 1 cent, hunting for high-quality coins or rare errors can add a bit of thrill to collecting. The 1997 USA 1-cent coin, also known as the Lincoln cent, has a rich history. This design, featuring President Abraham Lincoln, was introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of Lincoln's birth and has since become an American staple. On the obverse, or front of the coin, you'll see Lincoln's portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, are also famously visible on the bottom of Lincoln's bust on earlier coins, though not on the 1997 version. On the reverse side, you'll find the iconic Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparro, which was part of the design from 1959 all the way to 2008. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny Lincoln statue in the memorial, which is a remarkable level of detail for such a small coin. Did you know that pennies weren't always made mostly of zinc? Up until 1982, pennies were primarily copper, but due to the rising cost of copper, they switched to a copper-plated zinc core. So if you were thinking a 1997 penny would be worth a lot for its metal, think again. Now let's talk about what you've probably been waiting for: the value of a circulated 1997 penny. Unfortunately, for most of these coins, they're still only worth, well, a penny. Since billions of pennies are minted every year, including the 5.5 billion in 1997, they're not considered rare by any means. So you may be wondering, can a 1997 penny still be valuable? The answer is, sometimes. High-grade coins, those that look almost uncirculated or have a beautiful mint state, can sell for more. If you have a 1997 penny that's in near-perfect condition, you could expect to get anywhere from 25 cents to even a few dollars from collectors who value pristine coins. Another potential jackpot with the 1997 penny is finding one with an error. Error coins can happen during the minting process and often go unnoticed until they're in circulation. For example, you might find a doubled die penny where the image or text appears doubled, or coins with misaligned strikes, giving them unique, one-of-a-kind features. Error. Pennies are highly collectible, and depending on the error, they can be worth anywhere from a few dollars to over $100. Although there's no major rarity with mint marks, certain ones like the D for Denver or S for San Francisco can be more collectible, especially if they're in pristine condition. So, should you start hoarding all your 1997 pennies? If you enjoy the thrill of the hunt or plan on collecting high-grade coins, it might be worth it. But for the average circulated 1997 penny, the real value is in the enjoyment of collecting and the history they represent. Most of these are still just worth a penny. 2006 US 1-cent coin, also known as the Lincoln penny. So if you have a few of these pennies lying around, you might want to take a closer look. We're covering everything you need to know about their history, circulation value, and even some key things to watch for that might just make your penny worth more than a cent. Let's start with a quick look at the coin itself. In 2006, the U.S. Mint continued to produce the Lincoln penny, which has been in circulation since 1909 in honor of Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. The coin's design has stayed mostly the same since then, with Lincoln's profile on the obverse and, at the time, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The 2006 penny is part of the last group of coins that featured the Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse. This design was used from 1959 until 2008, when it was replaced by a series of designs honoring Lincoln's life and legacy. So, in a way, the 2006 penny marks the end of an era. The obverse side still carries the portrait of Lincoln, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner back in 1909. So, how common are these coins? Well, in 2006, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies, specifically at 2 locations, the Philadelphia and Denver mints. You can tell where your coin was minted by looking at the small letter under the date, a P for Philadelphia or a D for Denver. Here's a quick breakdown of the mintage numbers. As you can see, that's a lot of pennies. This makes the 2006 penny fairly common, meaning most of them don't have high value in terms of rarity. But there are still some special features that collectors are interested in, which are rarer, can bring in a few dollars, maybe even up to $10 or $15, depending on demand. However, these high-grade coins are typically found in coin rolls or uncirculated sets, not loose change. This is where things get interesting. Some 2006 pennies have special features or errors that make them worth more than just a cent. Let's go over a few types of errors that collectors pay attention to. Sculptor Victor David Brenner back in 1909. So, how common are these coins? Well, in 2006, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies, specifically at two locations, the Philadelphia and Denver mints. You can tell where your coin was minted by looking at the small letter under the date, a P for Philadelphia or a D for Denver. Here's a quick breakdown of the mintage numbers as you can see. That's a lot of pennies. This makes the 2006 penny fairly common, meaning most of them don't have high value in terms of rarity. But there are still some special features that collectors are interested in, which are rarer, can bring in a few dollars, maybe even up to $10 or $15, depending on demand. However, these high-grade coins are typically found in coin rolls or uncirculated sets. Not loose change. This is where things get interesting. Some 2006 pennies have special features or errors that make them worth more than just a cent. Let's go over a few types of errors that collectors pay attention to. These are small imperfections that happen during the minting process. Look for raised lines or dots along the rim or in other areas of the coin. They're usually subtle but can increase the value of a 2006 penny to a few dollars. If you have a penny where the design is not properly centered, it's known as an off-center strike. The more off-center, the more valuable it could be, sometimes fetching $5 to $20 or more, depending on the degree of the error. This is a favorite among collectors. Double dies occur when there's a misalignment during the minting process, resulting in doubled images on the coin, especially on the date, Liberty, or In God We Trust. Though rare, these errors can bring significant value to a 2006 penny, sometimes reaching $10 to $50 depending on how pronounced the doubling is. At the end of the day, the average 2006 penny in circulation is still just worth 1 cent. However, for collectors or those who enjoy the thrill of searching for unique coins, these pennies can be a fun and affordable piece of history to hold on to. If you're interested in coin collecting, set aside a few 2006 pennies in good condition or search for errors and varieties. Who knows, you might come across one with an unusual feature. 2007 USA 1-cent coin. Whether you're a collector or just curious, you might be wondering, is this coin worth more than a penny? Stick around to find out. Let's start with a little background. The 1-cent coin, often called the penny, is one of the most recognized coins in the United States. It's been in circulation since 1793, making it one of the longest-running coins in U.S. history. But we're going to zero in on the 2007 version specifically, the Lincoln Memorial Cent, featuring the famous bust of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Now, 2007 was an interesting year for the penny. Over 7.4 billion pennies were produced. That breaks down into approximately 3.6 billion at the Philadelphia Mint and 3.7 billion at the Denver Mint. Due to this high mintage, 2007 pennies are common in circulation, so they generally don't have much added value. But don't tune out just yet, there's still more to these coins than meets the eye. At face value, the 2007 penny is worth, of course, just 1 cent. In circulated condition, meaning it's been used and shows signs of wear, the value remains very close to that face value. However, uncirculated or high-quality 2007 pennies can be worth a bit more, especially if they've been well preserved or graded by a professional coin grading service. Here's where things get exciting. Even with a common coin like the 2007 penny, rare varieties or errors can add value. Let's talk about a few common errors you might find on 2007 pennies. A double die error happens when there's a slight misalignment during the minting process, leading to doubled text or images on the coin. Check around the date, the word Liberty is, and Lincoln's bust. If you spot doubling, it could be worth more to collectors. This is another interesting error. If the coin's image is shifted away from the center, it's called an off-center strike. The more dramatic the error, the higher the potential value. Sometimes the coin's edge might have a clipped appearance due to an error in cutting the metal blank or planchet. These clipped planchets are collectible, and though rare, they can be worth a few dollars. 7 small errors can add a premium to a coin's value. But remember, the rarer the error and the better the condition, the higher the potential value. Now, let's talk metal value. Pennies made in 2007 are composed of 97.5% zinc and just 2.5% copper. While older pennies made mostly of copper can sometimes have a melt value higher than face value, the 2007 penny's melt value is less than a cent. This means it's generally not worth melting down for metal value. So, is the 2007 penny worth more than a penny? In most cases, no, it's worth exactly 1 cent, especially if it's circulated. But if you happen to find one with an error or a mint condition example, you might be holding a small treasure worth a few dollars. To recap, if you have a 2007 penny in excellent condition or with a rare error, it's worth holding on to. And if you're a collector, keep an eye out for those uncirculated examples or any interesting errors. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more coin collecting tips and coin history. Let us know in the comments if you have any rare pennies, or if there are other coins you'd like us to cover. Happy hunting, and we'll see you in the next video.